sure that Twitch is streaming. My assumption is yes. And it looks like everything's fine, so one last mic check. Everything I'm hoping is correct. Alright. Hello everyone, this is Chris Fingerson, and it is January 10th. This is the January 10th TextQuest Devstream. And of course, as soon as I say everything is fine, it looks like Twitch is freaking out. I'm just hoping that it's the actual web page and not my streaming. So, today we're going to be working more in the woods. Specifically, we're going to be working on parts of the graveyard. So it's going to be a little bit of a heavy art episode today. Came in a little bit later than I wanted to, mostly because I was tinkering around with this little thing, so I can take screenshots with the editor camera. Something that I had never thought about doing, but is actually kind of cool. So, don't know. So yeah, I can actually, for example, let me zoom out here. Normally, a long time ago I wrote a screenshot tool that let me take screenshots with the Unity camera. And this, if I wanted to, I can actually use the scene view camera to just take a quick screenshot. Ta-da! I think by default I've set it to do 1080. So 1920 by 1080, 16 by 9 resolution. But I can do everything from custom to 4K. Let's see. I think usually I end up doing something like this, which is just I guess that's technically actually 4K. So a little bit above 4K. That's what most of my screenshots are, which is why they're a massive 1 megabyte every time I take a screenshot. But I feel like for editor, it's probably fine just to do 1920 by 1080. Did I not mark it as HD? Thought I had little nice markers for this, but oh. So that's a fun little editor tool. I'll probably get some use out of that. But today, we're largely going to be spending time in ProBuilder and Substance Designer and some Adobe Illustrator, because that's our art pipeline. And it's also going to be a little bit of a strange day because my roommate made martinis. So I'm going to be classically sipping on a martini the entire time. Well, probably not the entire time. I'll probably be done like, 15, 30 minutes tops. I'm going to say 15. All right. So, to start off, we're going to take a look at what I've currently done for the graveyard, which is literally everything you're looking at right now, which is the fence prefab. It's not finished yet. I'm still doing the textures for it. And it's going to be fairly basic. You can see, let's go to the hierarchy here. And then hit W to move it. You can see that it's fairly simplistic. It's meant to behave similarly to the tree walls, where it's just a solid surface on the edge of one of our zones. And you'll notice that it's a little short. It's not the full 10 by 10. And that's because these are meant to basically stack nicely. Oh, looks like it snapped. Of course it did. Fine. 0.5. So, on the bottom it's going to look like this. When it rotates to be on the right side, it's going to look something like that. And basically the idea is that they slot together to fill in a full square. Anyway, let's go ahead and move this back. Right there. And appropriately, I have changed the forest layout window, where before it was just sort of like a bool checklist saying like I want the tree wall on the bottom, on the top, on the left, on the right. Now it's actually an enum that I can change at runtime. So, I suppose without further ado, let's go ahead and start doing some art. And while Adobe Illustrator is loading, I will take a drink. So, we've already done the fence texture, as you can see, which means that we're going to move on to the actual post textures. And what I was sort of imagining for this is kind of like an old graveyard fence, so you can see that the fence is actually a little bit rusted. And appropriately, I think I'm going to try to do maybe a little bit more fancy than usual, but have a sort of stone substance with green sort of vegetation sort of growing over it, sort of matching the ivy that we have in the Hero's Grove. So let's go ahead and we're going to make a new file. 1024 by 1024. We'll call it I can't spell graveyard. Graveyard graveyard fence posts. All right, let's go ahead and drill down real quick. So graveyard, why is my capital G's not working? Hello, Garrett. It's going pretty well. Of course, we just started, so who knows how terrible it'll get by the end of the stream. But got to be optimistic, I suppose. Graveyard fence post. I'm gonna go to base. Why can't I type? Man, apparently half a martini kills me. BG. Not really. It actually takes quite a bit of alcohol to get through me. Let's see, BG. We'll do text. And I think we'll start with that. Shouldn't be too much else. But yes, I am doing pretty well, Garrett. How about you? Let's go ahead and start with a rectangle. I'm going to make it solid black. That's because I just like working with solid black background while I do everything. All right. And let's go ahead and lock this layer so I don't accidentally edit it at any time. We're going to go probably something similar to what we've done with bricks in the past, where we don't really do color maps in Adobe Illustrator. We're going to do sort of like masking and height map information, and then we'll bring it into Substance Designer before we actually add any color to it. So it's going to look a little bit drab, but once we get through this, we'll be able to customize color as we see fit. And hopefully we'll be able to make the vegetation look nice. I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to do that properly or not. But, experimentation. Alright, so this one we might actually go into the text before we start doing some of the divides, which I guess that was my third section here. So divides. So we're going to change our text to Commodore 64, make sure that it's got no anti-aliasing whatsoever, 72 pixels, and ta-da, we're just going to say brick. Although actually, you know what, I think I'm going to go with stone. Obviously it's solid black right now because for some reason Illustrator defaults to solid black. So I'm guessing by the end of this stream I'm going to start saying ston, because that always happens whenever I have to work with the word stone. I really don't like semantic satiation, which is a real thing, and it constantly afflicts me. Yeah. All right. So real quick, let's look at our model. And this is our model, fairly simplistic, mostly square. We're going to be doing there's going to be one thing that's different about this. It's not going to be perfectly repeating tiling texture. We're actually going to have stone along the ground. And then here you can see that the fence has two horizontal rails that touch the side of the actual fence post. And what we're going to do there is we're going to have some metallic sort of slivers that will actually be the sort of like braces, so that it makes sense for the metal to be jutting out of brick or stone, I guess. Otherwise, it would be kind of strange to have metal just sort of on top of stone. We need some reason as to how it's there. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to Illustrator. And we're going to copy this. Stone. It's probably fine. I don't think I need to do too much more. See, I'm a little actually concerned. I might need to just make this super huge. I don't want to have 3 materials. My goal for this was to have 2 materials, one for the fence and one for the post. I might end up having 3 just because that metallic brace is gonna. It would be very difficult to have a tiling stone texture if that metallic brace is in the middle there. So, and I mean, there's a little bit of room here at the top of the fence that I could try and fill in with the braces, but because the fence is transparent, whether it's cut out, there might be sorting issues with it if I did it that way, so I probably will have to end up doing a 3rd material, which might be fine. I might just end up sticking it with like part of another material so that it batches at least. So for now I'm just going to make an actually tiling texture, and what we're going to do is we're going to say stone. I'm going to increase the size on this a lot. to, let's see, what did I usually do? I think I do, let's see, so that'd be 96, 108, 120. So this is going to be fairly big. I might even go to 240. Okay, not that big. Let's go halfway, 180. Nope, gotta go 120. Okay. Copy this, paste this. Alright. I think we're going to have a little bit of give, so minus 50, no, minus 75. Okay. That's about correct, so this should be, when it actually tiles, it should look fine. I am going to go ahead and copy this. Actually, I'm not going to copy it. That's a lie. I'm going to duplicate it. Duplicate. Drag this down, and then I'm going to copy this. Paste that, just so that I can drag. Oof. Ah, it's so close. I think I need to make these guys just a little bit bigger. Just a little bit bigger. Perfect. Now they are looping very, very close to each other. So if they tile or go around, excuse me, if they tile or go around the, like a corner, it'll actually look correct. And drink. I gotta get through a martini before my 15 minutes are up. Otherwise I lose a bet. Not really, I just, said I would, so I don't want to be a liar. Alright, let's duplicate this. We're going to move this down. Move it slightly over. Actually, we're going to move this one a little bit over further, and then move this one back. Dang it, there's no way to win. I like to try and make a zigzag, as opposed to just sort of like steps, because I feel like the sort of step pattern is very, very noticeable, whereas a little bit of a sort of toss-up makes it harder to notice that everything's tiling. Let's duplicate this, move it down, move this one a little bit further left again, and I'm guessing we're going to have 2 more, maybe 3, probably 3. Okay, we're going to move this one way over, so the S is pretty much the thing on the edge. Let's duplicate one more time, move it down. Oh yeah, definitely I'm going to have plenty of room. Move you to here. And the last one is going to be great because it has to not be too close to the one up top. Has to probably do something like this. Yeah, okay. Alright, so there's our stone. And now we're going to want to do our divides. So let's select this, hit M. I'm going to lock the text layer so I don't accidentally end up touching it. Let's see. So we're going to do 16, I'm guessing. Yep, 16 pixels high. That looks about right. I wonder... Real quick, let me pull up a search window. See, I wonder if I should try something more in line with what old stone walls did, where you can see that they're not necessarily regular sized stones. They're sort of slapped on top of each other, different sizes, different shapes. It's incredibly difficult to do something like that, and normally I don't like doing that because it's so hard to match up. Mostly because tiling becomes a nightmare. You have to always make sure that the right side ends with the left side, and it's just... So... I don't know, it would fit pretty well. Because the idea is that this graveyard is supposed to be sort of like an older structure. So I might... I'll try it with the square, like actual square stones. And if I don't like it, then I might come back and try it again. but it's unlikely that I'll do that, I suppose. Mostly because it's exceedingly difficult to do that, to match everything up properly. So unless I end up, oh shit, didn't mean to do that. Most likely, if I do that, I probably won't do it on the stream. I'll probably end up doing it on my own time, just because sitting there listening to me go while I try to make everything line up perfectly is not going to be fun for anyone. Okay, let's duplicate you. And at this point, I'm kind of just eyeballing it, making sure that everything lines up properly. Well, I suppose while I'm doing this, did everyone hear the bad news that Scalebound was canceled? It's quite unfortunate. I was looking forward to that. Yeah, it would have sucked because I would have had to have gotten it on the Windows Store probably, but you know. I would have done it. I like Platinum games. Alright, let's unlock this layer, and we're just going to kind of move some of these text areas around. Mostly trying to get things to be a little equidistant. I don't really care. Actually, that's probably not too bad. I don't mind having slightly larger stones or slightly larger rows than others, because again, that goes back to that sort of non-uniform ancient stone formations. Excuse me. So I might just kind of leave it like this. And then, let's see, add another layer here. It divides. Say this is horizontal. Grab all these guys, put them in here. Let's do vertical. Alright, so now we're going to actually start doing the vertical portions that separate the stones. Lock the text layer again. And 16 width. Ta-da! 16 width. Ha! Alright, I'm going to make a new thing, call this row 1. Row 1. Move these guys into it, and then I'll just duplicate this. Duplicate row 1, call it row 2. And I will move it. Shit. I hate it when it does that. Ugh. Come on, work with me here. There we are. Alright, not bad. Let's move this over a little bit. Move this over a little bit. I think that's about right. I'm going to copy this again. Welcome back, Garrett, by the way. I like the return message. Copy this over. That looks about right. Same thing. Copy this over. But yeah, Scalebound being canceled was kind of surprising. Well, I guess it's not really that surprising when you consider who was working on it. Now that I'm not saying that Platinum Games is bad, I'm saying that Hideki Kamiya is, I don't know if I would say perfectionist, but something very analogous to a perfectionist. He has a lot of pride in his work, so if he can't make the game that he wants to make, it's not unexpected for him to just sort of storm off the project and then take the project with him, I guess. Although I'm guessing that Microsoft is really the one to blame there. Alright, row 6. We're almost done. One more row after this. Forgot how enthralling it was to do. Come on. To do stone work. Down. There we go. And one more. We're going to do row 7. Copy this, move it over. Alright. So that's all of the segments. That's all of the text. And from that, I'm going to take one more drink. And then eat my olive. All right. Back from eating an olive. Have I played Pony Island? I after I get a drink of water. I got it on the Steam Winter Sale. It's been on my radar for a long time. I need to play it. My gut says I won't like it, but I've heard really good things about it. But it's hard for me to say if I'll like it or not. Gut says no, which is usually a bad sign. But yeah, I know that it has some sort of text entering bits in it. I think I actually want to reverse these, don't I? I'm going to change this to white and change everything else to black. Yeah, when it was on sale, it was very cheap, so I figured, I might as well. I actually bought a lot of games on the winter sale that I don't expect to like, but I need to play anyway. I'm going to say masks. And we're going to do... Well, you know what? Honestly, that might be... How do I want to do this? Do I just need one? If I'm going to do... No, I probably need multiple colors. So, I'm going to try... This is going to be really weird. I'm going to try putting ivy on here. Not entirely sure what this is going to end up doing. So, we're going to do the base mask, which is our stones. And then we're going to have one for our ivy. Started tagging games as to play. Yeah, there's just too many games. It's very hard to keep up with everything. All right, keep this. Yeah, the whole concept of a meta game, I like the concept of meta games. I feel like every game that is a meta game about playing a game and stuff like that, I feel like it doesn't quite come off right. I know what people are trying to do, and it feels like they're trying to do something, and they're just not quite doing it correctly, because they're largely just commentating on the fact that that's a game, as opposed to doing something with the fact that it's a game. It's weird. Okay, so we're going to lock that layer, going to turn it off, and then I'm going to have some sub layers here. This is going to be our background, which this one is going to be solid black. Ta-da. And then our text is going to be solid white. So text. All right. And our text, I'll lock the background again. Same thing. Except this one, it's going to be a little bit more fine-tuned. Make this white. I'm just going to shrink it down to, I'm going to say, yeah, 72 is probably fine. Yeah, it can feel like an inside joke. Well, I think the problem is that a lot of games, they do their it's a meta game sort of narrative, and it comes off as smarmy, for lack of a better term, like them saying like, "Oh, look at me, I'm so clever. It's a game. You're playing a game. Did you know that? Did you know that when you play games, games are like this?" But they don't actually do anything. They don't comment on the fact that you're playing a game. They just sort of talk about the fact that you're playing a game. Like, they don't try to do anything. I don't know how to describe it. Mechanically, that's actually commenting on the game's status while still being a game, and a good game at that. It's sort of like they're commenting by sacrificing the actual funness of the game. Now you can appreciate it and it can be clever, but that doesn't necessarily make it fun. And I feel like having a commentary that is fun is a lot more difficult to do, which is probably why a lot of them don't do it. I don't know. I feel like that's not adequate explanation for why it kind of grates on me whenever I play those types of games. But I'll have to think of a better way to phrase that. All right, so I'm going to show the background real quick. And for sake of ease, I'm going to change these colors to be green, and then I'll change them back to white later. Probably make it dark green so it's not super grating on my eyes. Okay. Now this is going to be the really tricky part. I think... Oh boy. I think I'm going to try to basically have the ivy sprout from the center, work its way up, over to the right, come from the left, and go back up. That's my goal. I'm hoping that won't look too repetitive. I guess we'll see. It's hard to recommend those types of games to people who don't play a lot. Stanley Parable and beginners kind of come away. Yeah, see, Stanley's Parable. This is gonna sound weird because they're from the same developer. Stanley's Parable I liked mostly because it was very novel. It was the first really big example of sort of like a meta commentary on the fact that a game is a game, and drawing to attention the fact that your choices don't really matter. You're not making choices. You're sort of choosing from a set amount of options. And am I animating the ivy growth? No, but that would be a really cool idea. I'm probably not going to do that for this. I might actually use that for something else, though. That could be a really cool thing to do. As we go on through the Devstream tonight, I'm going to talk a lot about what I have planned for the graveyard. We probably won't get to it tonight, but I'll be talking about a lot because I do have a lot planned for the graveyard. The graveyard is a very not intense area, but it is a very different area. Anywho, and this is going to be kind of annoying, but I'm going to do Ivy, move these things into it, delete this. Alright, now let's duplicate this. Then we're going to drag this. Okay. I got to start like manually moving these things. I might have like a 50% opacity that I add real quick. Because it's hard to look at black and white for a long time. I'm going to change this to, come on, say 50, actually I'm going to make it black with, I thought I could do transparency. No, I definitely can do transparency in Illustrator. I just haven't done it before. There's saturation. I feel really dumb. I thought that there was no. There it is. Opacity. 50%. Let's move it to 80. Just so it's dark enough that I don't have to stare at white on black. Alright, let's unlock this and get back to work. So, let's see. So yeah, for the graveyard area, what I actually have planned is an area that you're going to be revisiting after you've gone partway through the game. Mostly because when you get there first time through, when you're going to get the sword from the grove, the graveyard is actually going to be fairly calm. Nothing's going to be special there because it's daytime. And something that I had planned for a long time before I actually... Oh god, this is going to be super weird. Trying to space this out a little bit more. And something I had planned is after you go into the underground cave system, it'll actually shift to nighttime. And after you come out of the woods with the sword, it'll actually be dusk. So time will sort of pass as you adventure. And that will mean that you can come back at a later time and the level will change slightly. Yeah, the Ivy reading direction is something that it's... I guess I would call it an acceptable difficulty. Because I do it with some other things too. I've done it with, for example, antenna on the flaming moth, where the antenna starts at the bottom and works its way up. So it starts with A at the base and then, becomes T and so and so. And the reason for that is, even though it's harder to read, I like it to sort of guide your eye because you realize, oh, I don't read it top to bottom. I read it from bottom to top, and then you sort of make that natural association. Ivy grows from the ground up, as you pointed out there. So it is a little bit harder Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's an acceptable difficulty. Draggy. Oh, fuck. See, I knew I would forget to do that, and that's why we lock our layers. So yeah, even though it is a little bit more difficult, I do keep that in there just because I feel like it's part of the texture design, and it's just something that you know I feel makes the game have a little bit of a nicer touch than if I just made it otherwise. All right, so now we're gonna duplicate you, move you up to the top. This, this. I don't think I'm actually gonna change that. That's probably fine. Duplicate that. Grab this, move it up. Now we're gonna start veering up a little bit. And part of it, it is alleviated as it starts to grow to the side. Um, Although it still does cause problems. You can definitely see that, like the V being above the I is kind of weird. All right, all right. Let's duplicate this. All right. I might be a little. I might have to fudge some of this. Oops. Oh no. Rotation. Just eyeballing this real quick. All right. One more. Looks a little too rounded, actually. I might. Like it lines up. I do know that, but I think I do want to angular it out a little bit because if we look at Ivy, I'm trying to find a good example. That's not crazy. I guess it grows in far larger amounts than I was thinking of. But I was also thinking of like more carefully sort of done ivy. Like sort of the ivy that's I wouldn't say cultivated but shaped for a aesthetic. Hmm. Well, we might let's turn this off. Might leave this and see how it looks, I guess. Actually, does ivy grow on the corners? I've also noticed that Pony Island was released with a personal edition of Unity. Huh, I didn't realize that. I guess that makes sense. Uh, but that's pretty funny. Uh, Ivy, Ivy, Ivy. Don't give me crazy Ivy. Is that like a... Da, 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 da. I'm gonna get a lot of poison Ivy, aren't I? Let's do Ivy fence. Okay, it's gonna give me literally a fence of Ivy, isn't it? Dang it. Ah! It's too much to ask. Um, okay, fine. Da, 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 I might. Yeah, I think I'm going to add a little bit more, make the ivy a little bit denser. So instead of being so spread out, it's going to read a little bit thicker. And then I can do stuff like this, where I make it actually sort of branch in a direction. This up. Actually, nope, we'll keep that one there. Duplicate this. this up. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And we're going to have to move you to the right. And I don't like this sweeping motion. I move this down a little bit. Okay, I think that. So we have a straight shot, then a little bit of swooping over. I wonder if I should have the ivy actually grow in the grooves here instead of just sort of flashing across the stone. I feel like that would make more sense. And that I also feel like that would be a little bit more visually pleasing. It's raining. So let's do this. Yeah, I think that's actually a much more pleasing layout. So we can do stuff like this. And if that's the case, I'm probably looking at something like this, where I move it actually over here. I'm guessing you guys can hear that because it's super loud. That would be hail. It is hailing where I live. Alright, let's duplicate that. Let's move this stuff. Move this over here. This to here. Have you never had hail? Oh, I guess being in California. Hail is frozen rain, basically. So whenever it hits, it's this, instead of being raindrops, it's like tiny pellets of ice. There we go. Yeah, I like that zigzagging up. That looks a lot better. Let's get rid of these guys. That's fine. All right. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. In warmer states, I've met people who have never seen snow, and they were dumbfounded when they first saw it in their 20s. So I'm never sure. Yeah, there's supposed to be some sort of ice storm going on tonight. So hopefully my power doesn't kick out. I will be very, very displeased if that happens. Dang it. Don't rotate. Let's see. IV. Move this over here. Oh, yes. That means I can do this. Yeah, so now the ivy is a lot more dense, which I think reads a little bit better. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes. Yes, it is hail. Sorry, that was perfectly timed because I had just finished saying that I hope you guys can't hear that because it's hailing. So I guess that was the 30-second delay didn't register in my mind. Yeah. Yes, it is hail. Very good ear. Let's drag you over here. Put you there. Okay, I think two more, and we should be good. Let's duplicate ivy. Move this to. We'll put it right here. Ooh, this might be awkward. Duplicate ivy. I'm hoping this lines up perfectly, but oh no. Well, yeah, I gotta fudge it a little bit, but it's fine, I guess. Oh shit. Ah, shit. So close. Just realized that's gonna, like, cut here. Darn it. Well, maybe that's for the best. Um, so let's see. I'm actually gonna want to have like this. Well, see, that's the other thing is having the stone like this. Yeah, it's fine. It's gonna make it a little bit obvious that. Let's move this a little bit further to the right. Okay. We're gonna move this. Ugh, dang it! It's so close to being synced up to where I want it. Kind of sucks over here. Okay, and then I'm gonna start moving things like this. So ivy. Oh no, it's gonna cause me to shift everything. No, I don't want to do that. Ivy. Okay, get rid of these two. Move this over to here. There we go. Okay, so there's our tiling texture. Get a little bit of ivy, and it should loop correctly. So let's go ahead. Let's minimize that. We can delete this. Don't need that overlay anymore. This is our masks. So I'm actually going to say make that solid, and then change every single one of these to white. White. All right, so those are our two masks. We have ivy and then our actual stone, and now we'll be able to bring it into substance and design color and sort of roughness maps. Okay, so let's save this real quick. Start our export process. SVG, graveyard fence post, mask, base. File, recent files. Minimize the ivy. Get rid of the base. Save this out. SVG underscore mask ivy. All right. Now we can go over to Substance Designer. Probably should navigate to those. Minimize you. Hard drive, game development, Unity, text quest, art, textures, environment, overworld, woods. I'm going to put you down here. And we're going to go to new substance. We're going to call it graveyard fence post. Why is my first capital letter just not working? There we go. Metallic roughness, everything else is fine. Hit OK. Now let's link some of these. Graveyard fence post mask. Link resources. That's fine. Set their quality to V1. Drag them into the scene. Or I guess it's not the scene. I actually don't remember what this is called. View area, I guess. Grayscale, grayscale. Oh yeah. Habitual Command S, or Control S. Graveyard fence post, that's fine with me. All right. So it's actually nice being back into art. It's been a while since I've had to do any art. Last night I was actually doing the fence texture for just our graveyard fence, like the actual posts. And God, it took me forever to get anything. I'm like, it's been so long since I've had to do textures. It took like 2 hours to get through the texture and make it look the way I wanted. All right, so let's zoom this guy back a little bit. Those are our masks. Actually, we're going to move them way back. We're going to make a normal. I'm going to expose this. Get all of these things out of the way. format. Hit OK. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do a normal combine because I always do that. It's gonna lead over here. That, paste that down here. There's our normal map. And actually, real quick before I do anything else, I'm gonna change our resolution to 2K so that everything looks super nice, and then I'll bring it back down to 512 by 512 or relative to parent so I can adjust in Unity later. Alright, so we got a couple of things that we need to do first. We're going to have to combine these guys, and actually I'm kind of going to cheat here. I'm going to do a blend texture here. Never done this. Normally what I would do is I would use this black and white texture as a mask, and then I would have like a black with gray, like mid-tone gray for the white here as my height map, but I think I'm just going to try to do a blend overlay, see what I can do. I'm curious. Uniform color. We're going to make this grayscale, absolute, 16 by 16. Move this up here. Move this over here. We're going to change this. We're going to change this to be relative to parent, so it's always correct. And then I'm going to change this to overlay. Overlay. And I believe I want to do this. Okay, apparently you didn't want to. Damn. I thought that. Let's try ignoring alpha. It's probably not going to play nice. Can I do switch? Min? I guess that's what I'm going to do is min. Alright. Let's do. Oh, that's not great. Can I do. No, that's interesting. I didn't know I could do that. Oh, these are buttons. Invert gray. I want to do 50%, which off the top of my head should be something like, what, 125? Probably closer to 127, actually. It's probably actually as close as I'm going to get, 127, because that would come out to 254. Okay, so now these are sort of darkened, and the reason for that is that when you bring in height map information, we actually want to do this blend. Copy these guys. Going to change this to, instead of copy, we're going to say max lighten. And then when we bring this into our normal map, you can see that our ivy now is popping up further than our stone or the stone blocks underneath the ivy. And that's because it's white, which is the highest raised bump, or normal, and black is the farthest recessed normal. So now everything lines up like that. So that was nice and simple. Down here. All right, so that's our basic height information, and if we actually look at it, you can sort of see it. It's not very well defined here. A little easier to see with this. So our IV is the solid blue. Transparent means that it's just completely recessed. It's as low as the normal map will get. So everything looks correct here, but now we need to actually add texture to it. So, you know, like the mortar has roughness to it. The stones have sort of a texture, like a bump texture to them, and then our ivy, of course, is going to have a plant life cellular structure to it. Right here, actually, cells 2, I believe, is what I usually use. Actually, no, I might use cells 3, because it's a little bit less coarse. All right. So to get started, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to find all of our noise textures that we want first. Mortar, I believe I usually have be dirt 6. I might go for dirt 1, or yeah, dirt 1. So this is going to be the texture for our mortar, the spaces between our actual stone bricks. And you know what, actually, before I do this, because I don't want to look at a black cube, I'm going to do some color real quick. So we're going to say uniform color. Again, we're going to make this an absolute value, 16 by 16. And The reason that we do 16 by 16, I think I've already explained this before, but it doesn't hurt for me to repeat myself, I guess, is that 16 by 16 is Substance's most optimized texture size. So you make all of your colors 16 by 16, and then you force them to expand after all of the color calculations are done. That way you're not constantly calculating, like 2K textures every time you need a color calculation. You're just doing 16 by 16 textures, which is way smaller and way better. So we're going to copy this, paste it in. We're going to do another blend. And this one is going to be our base. Let's do this. Let's make it solid white to start. And then we need to change our input to relative to parent. So for ease of use, let's say it's red. Okay, so red is our base stone color that we want. I'm probably going to go for sort of a weathered brownish, sort of like a tan sandstone, maybe. It might be good to do like limestone, like sort of a grayish yellow, like that. And then our actual mortar, probably going to be a little closer to like a light brown. So that ends up looking a little bit more like sandstone. I'm not sure if I really like that. I want to make it a little bit whiter. And of course, it's hard to judge just on the albedo map, which is what the base color is. Because the texture actually factors in. It makes your eyes perceive color differently. A flat color is a very different color from the same color on a textured surface, or on a bumped surface. So we're going to leave this right now. Not too crazy, sort of a sandstone-y limestone look to it. And then we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. We're going to do another blend. This is going to be our base. This is going to be our top. And here's going to be our map. I'm going to make this just green. And there we are. So now if I bring this in, boom! So that is our color map. Definitely going to end up adjusting those colors. I do not like those colors. The ivy is fine. I probably need to darken it, but like that. Well, maybe too dark. Something like that. But now that I have color, I can sort of more easily judge if I like the specific texture I pick out for our normal maps. All right, so we're going to do something similar. We're going to have actually, you know what? We're going to copy this, paste this one more time, and it's going to be you right there. We're going to add levels to adjust the color a little bit. So this is going to be our mortar. I'm going to move this back here, put this here, and we're going to do a normal blend. Color this in, use this as our blend shape. So you can see that it's filling in the areas just where our mortar would be. And let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm going to move this guy down. I'm going to move this guy up here, move you back. We're going to add another normal blend right here. Move this back to here. Connect these guys. And drag this in. Alright, so now you can see that we have a stony texture to our ivy, or not to our ivy, to our mortar. And that's interesting. Why did it? Oh, because I grabbed the wrong texture. Ah, right there. There we go. Now our ivy is correct. I was wondering why our ivy was getting the weird bump. Okay, so let's move this up to here. This here. We're going to do cells, do levels, connect this. Alright, so you can see that it added sort of like a cracking look to it, which is fine, but because of how spaced out our ivy is, it's hardly noticeable. So actually what we want to do is we want to increase, or rather decrease the distance. Or no, we want to increase the distance so that it's more compact. I'm going to do 64. So now it looks like each ivy is actually, or each character is actually like a leaf, as opposed to what it was before, which was essentially just like a solid sheet with a crack through it. So this gives it a little bit more sort of flavor, makes it a little bit more leaf-like. Right? It's a little reflective right now because everything's not metallic, but it's super smooth. We'll get to the roughness map, and that'll fix that. So we need one more noise for our stone, like our actual stone, not the words. And for that, I wonder if no, a dirt gradient wouldn't look right because it would tile and it would be weird. So, although that could be interesting, I could try to do a fancy dirt gradient. We might do that later. Let's do. There should be a very sparse dirt right here. Okay, we're gonna do levels. Connect this, and then boom. Now our stones have small amounts of bumps, but nothing crazy, so they're still largely smooth. Which, you know what, actually is not what I want for this. I want the rougher sort of stone. Let's see. Fractal sum might not be a bad idea for this. Let's put that in there. Yeah, that's pretty nice. It's a little too rough, but that's why we can adjust things. And I'm also going to cheat right now. I'm going to do uniform color grayscale and just make things super rough. So I don't get that annoying light sheen anymore. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's probably important for me to actually check if everything tiles properly. Yeah, that looks right. Hooray. All right. But we're not done. I actually want to decrease this. Oh, and of course I can't. Crap. I decrease fractal sum too. I can't decrease any of it. Great. That means I'm going to have to buffer it out with levels. And this is why we add levels to everything. So I can basically do this. Let's bring it down a little bit. Bring down the opacity. So you can see that as I darken this image, the normal gets a little bit more subtle. So instead of being what it is at full blast, where it's kind of like popping everything, there's a lot of shadows that are being self-cast. We're actually going to bring this down quite a bit to be almost non-existent. Then bring this. We're going to make it contrast a little bit. So you can see these sort of solid areas where I'm hitting the roof, and what that causes is it causes this flat look to it. So I'm actually going to, I think, intensify that even more. I want these to be rough, but not insanely rough. I might actually want to tile this. Okay, so I'm going to move this back a little bit. We're going to do a transformation 2D. And we're going to multiply this by 2. I'm sorry, divide by 2. So it tiles a little bit more. That way more stones have a smooth surface rather than just like the top left. And last things last, we're going to smooth out some of these guys. Let me just, no. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Bring this up. Well, actually, I might just bring it down a lot. Balance a little bit so it ends up sort of contrasting a little bit sharper. And once again, I'm probably going to transform 2D this. Transformation 2D, tile it. just so that we get a little bit finer mortar going on here. I might actually do it again. There we go. A lot more fine. All right. Well, let me move this up a little bit so we can get a better look at everything. Our ivy looks nice. Our stones look rough, but not insanely rough, but they don't look smooth either. I wonder if I should learn how to use the tile generator to generate these. That way each stone block looks different as opposed to clearly being part of sort of like a larger smoothing group. But for now, I'm not too worried about it, I guess. And for this, for the ivy, I might just, I don't know if I want to really do anything here. No, I need those deep cuts. I want to make it, ooh, that might be a little too much. Let's go right there. Slight adjustments. Nothing crazy. Okay. So that's our color and our normal taken care of, and our, I'm going to add a mask for the ivy for our roughness map, because the ivy might be a little bit smoother than the stone. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of things. First and foremost, we're going to move you here, move you down here, move you there, move you. Probably just do that for consistency. Nope, we'll do that. I like to have, yeah, we're just going to do that. Alright, so there's our color. We're going to move that up by 2. And then we're going to need to move this, which is our roughness map, down by 2. Move our metallic down. Metallic's going to be super easy for this, fortunately. Just make it a grayscale value. Nothing on here is metallic. Okay, so I'm going to move this up to here. And then everything else moves up by 1. I guess that's it. Ugh, it's going to be an annoyingly angled one. Alright. Move our masks backwards just a little bit. And all I'm doing here is I'm organizing my graph. I like to have a fairly clean graph structure. Move these guys down by 1. And before I do anything else, I am going to do a blend. It's going to be this guy. Make this relative to parent. Put you in. Put you. Make you absolute value again, 16 by 16. So it's very, very simple. This in. I'm going to make this. Okay, so this is actually going to be our base color, which we know is going to be 100% rough. And then our ivy, I'm going to make 200. So it's slightly shiny, like just a little bit. Mostly because if you ever go outside and you actually look at leaves, you'll see that there's a very, very small luster to them. Because they're cells, they're living cells. They have water inside of them, and well, unlike rocks, they're not completely rough. So a very, very, very slight smoothness to them that we'll be able to adjust in Unity, obviously, will help out, I think. And then metallic, just leave it as it is. Don't need to do anything special there. Yeah, metallic leaves. That's probably like a later level thing. Not so much the forest. Although that would be a pretty amusing thing, like a forest of tin. Alright, so now that that's all done, we can actually start grouping everything. We can name it all, and then we can bring it into Unity. So, let's go ahead and add frame. This up. Name this color. Make it green. Add frame. This is our masks. Masks. Make it red. Grab all of this. Add a frame. Crap. Yarg. So close. Hate it when I accidentally group that. Normal, yeah, the normal map section is almost always the largest section of my graph. It's just massive. There's no getting around that because I put way too much emphasis on it. Put this stuff in, add a rough frame. So rough, I can't spell. Well, technically that's spelled correctly, but for some reason I can't capitalize tonight. Let's see. It's going to be purple. And then our last one is our metallic, which is the simplest graph at one node. All right, so now I just got to name everything real quick. So we're going to do expose this. This is going to be under color. Okay. Expose this. This is text color. Text color. Here is ivy color. All right, so that's all the colors exposed. Let's see, next. I don't really have any normal things besides the normal format that I want to expose. I might, real quick, take this. I'm going to decrease the strength to 0.75. That's just so that our mortar is not super, super rocky. But everything else I like at 1. Expose this. This is going to be rough. Rough. Expose this. This is going to be our ivy rough. And then finally our metallic. Alright, all of our stuff is named. Just got to name it all real quick. Graveyard. Fence post. Of course, me. And then, real quick, we're going to go through and make these super pretty. So, normal format. It's grouped under normal. And our usual thing, which is true. Oops. Okay. True, colon, open GL. False, direct X. All right, there's our normal. I'm going to call this base. It is grouped in color. Nice and simple. Here's our text, grouped in color. My life has been way, way simplified after I learned that I can group things. So I no longer have to say ivy color, text color, base color. I can just say base and then group it under a color dropdown. Super nice. Slider, clamp it. This is our base underneath rough. Not roughed, rough. Alright, here is our ivy underneath rough. It is also a slider that is clamped. We're going to make it 0.75. And then finally our metallic. It is under metallic. Also a slider. Alright. Drag our normals under our colors, and hooray! We can save, and we can export, and we can, change this to make sure that it's not 2K. That's what it drops to when it's 240 or 256. And actually, you know what? That's not too bad. For a toaster resolution, that's actually kind of nice. Everything's legible. Certainly a lot of the normal map detail is gone, but at 256, GameCube level resolution, that's fine. Alright, let's save that out. Graveyard fence post, SPSAR, save. Alright. And real quick, drag this. So go to art, substance, environment, overworld, woods, and let's see what it looks like. That's interesting. The albedo looks a lot warmer than my 3D texture for some reason. Like it looks yellow up here, but down here it looks blue almost. Let's try increasing that color. Well, it actually, yeah, okay, that actually does do stuff. That's not bad. Yeah, mortar's a tricky color. Or I guess color for mortar is very tricky. At 512, we're not getting a lot of resolution here. If I bump this up to 1K, is it good? Okay, yeah, 1K makes a huge difference, which is fine. Again, the three resolutions that I support in TextQuest are 512. So as long as everything's legible in 512, I'm fine with 512 specs. Obviously, you can see some detail, but a lot of it is lost. And then once we bump up to 1K textures, everything should look good, if not great, at 1K. And then 2K really should just be like you're showing off and you want super nice textures. Okay, so let's let that go. That looks fine to me. So now let's bring it into Unity. Grab my pickets, grab my fence. Okay. Oh, right, we still need to make our brace texture. Well, let's just see what this looks like. So, let's go to Material Editor, drag this in, and we'll hit apply. Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. Ah, piss. I'm probably not going to get around that, am I? Ah. I have to individually apply it to these guys. It actually doesn't look bad as a wall. It was clearly not designed for that, but it does not look bad. All right. So that's a little... It's a little small tile-wise. I think that I'm picturing the stones a little bit larger. Let's go ahead and go to our UV editor. Actually, let's go ahead and save, which is going to cost like 10 seconds of time. All right, let's go to UV editor. Oh god, this is going to suck. You know what? I'm going to drag the pickets out from underneath it. I do not like working with that. All right. What the hell? Why is it only... Okay, apparently ProBuilder doesn't like that. Oh dear. Okay, I'm looking at... I have the UV map open on the left side of the... or on my left monitor, which means you guys probably can't see it. I don't have room for it over here. I can try. I can try really hard to do this. This is not going to be fun for anyone. Okay, so there's our UV map. And the trick is we want to grab everything. Okay, so make sure that that's doing it. And I'm going to, I guess... Dang it, I always do it backwards. Command Z this. I probably will do this and group them. Oh shit. No, I will not group them. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay. So I have to just carefully position everything. Let's multiply its size. So now I'm going to have to manually drag everything. Oh, so much fun. Woohoo. Okay, so let's grab you. Move you. I'm guessing 0.25. Yep. 0.25. Yep. Okay. Now I want you at 0. Actually, negative 0.25. Yep. Alright. so you're fine. And you need to go to negative 0.25 as well. And that should cause everything to wrap correctly. Yep. Nice. So let's grab these guys. This is going to be interesting. I guess I'll try moving them all at once. Looks like 1.5. And I'm guessing 1.25. Oh, geez, no. 1? No? 2.5. There we go. Okay. Oh, man. This is going to be brutal right here. Ah, that's going to suck a lot, actually. Okay, so these line up, which is nice. This center part's going to be terrible. Oh, man, I lucked out. The edge part here is not super great, but it's actually going to be hidden all the time, so whew, don't have to worry about it. That's nice. Yeah, don't need to do anything special there. So that means that this is the only one that's going to be kind of weird. I guess I would do negative 0.25. See, the problem is, though, yeah, this happens. I didn't think about doing stuff from the top backwards. Dang it. So we have a little bit of a problem here. I conceivably I could get around this, actually. Let me flip this. I think I want this. No, I don't want that. I want this. No, I don't want that. Fine. Rotation. Okay. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because this orientation is the important one. This side is the side that's always going to face the player. So I'm going to drag this over to the left again, and I'm going to change the light so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right. So this is what's going to face the player. Ah, hell. We were so close. I'm guessing that I just need to move this over by 1. Or I just need to go to 1. Oh, come on. Don't do that. There we go. 1. There we go. So close. Okay. So, 1. Oh, nice. Dodged a bullet there. Of course, it kind of sucks that these don't like perfectly line up, but not sure what you can do about that. Oof. Light's a little odd. So close my UV editor. Don't really need it anymore. So this is the side that's going to be visible to the player. So as long as it is correct, and as long as it looks right, we should be fine. Oh man, it does kind of suck though that I have this very obvious step pattern. It's a shame. I liked that idea, but I think it came back to bite me. I should have made. Dang it! I should have done like this a little bit better. I don't know. Because it looks fine here. I like this. I really do. Maybe I should have just done it along one side, so instead of stepping, it would have just been sort of straight up part of the... It's fine. Doesn't look too bad, really. Alright, well, before I get too crazy about this, I'm going to change my ISO level to 16, because I like me to have some sharp ISOs. That way it doesn't lose resolution whenever I'm looking at it from the side. That looks fine. And oh, and also you got to remember this is actually looking at it at its 512 texture. So at 512 by 512, that's what it looks like. Let's bump that up to 1K. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Um, well, it took an hour and a half for me to do that. I am clearly way slower than I used to be. I need to get back into the swing of things. This is a problem. I don't like this UV. I don't know what I could do about that though. Probably. Hold on. Let me pull up my UV editor. I guess I'm going to want to move this over to. Let me see if I can get this to work properly. I basically want to flip it and have the IV line up here. So. Yay! I got an I in. Yeah, it's fine. Actually, you know what? No, I think it makes more sense for me to not do it that way. It makes more sense for me to flip it. I guess I'm kind of screwed no matter what way I do. They're both doing the same thing, aren't they? So, this way then? Alright. Actually, I could probably try to fudge this and make it a little bit more visually interesting. So do something like... something like that. It's not perfect, but it's at least somewhat different. And it doesn't matter because no one will ever see that. All right. So that's not bad. Might adjust some colors to try and balance with this fence because I'm going for a rusted, overgrown, old stone metal fence. You know the ones. You've all seen them. Let's come down here. Let's change our colors a little bit. Let's try darkening that. Can I make this a little bit more red? And my text, I'm also going to darken a little bit. Not get too brown. I might want to go veer towards red again. See, I don't see. I want a red tint, but it sort of looks pink if I'm not careful. So I end up having to do this weird color balancing. It doesn't help that it's green overlaid on top of it, so I can't really do too red. Otherwise, they start to clash pretty nastily. I don't want to go too gray. I don't know. Can't really think of a good way to do this. So for now, I'm actually going to select this, go ahead and generate my UV2s. So that my light map at least looks right. And just to make sure, I am going to check that out. Wait. UV2s. Yep, that looks right. Okay. Well, I was hoping to get more done than just art tonight, than just one substance tonight, but it's an hour and a half. I probably can't really start anything else without it taking an hour. So we might end the stream a little bit early today. Oh, crap, I gotta fix that real quick. Don't like it bleeding a little bit. There we go. So yeah, I think we're gonna end the stream just a little bit early, and I'll probably dive into doing some of the other graveyard stuff. I was hoping to get to like modeling the gravestones, modeling the mausoleum tonight, but we might save that for Thursday. And see what I can do on my own for tonight. So, let's see. Do I have any announcements that I need to make? None that I can think of. So, yeah. think that's a good place to stop. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.